Hi, and welcome to Colombo Hurd Immigration Law Firm. I'm attorney Carlos Colombo, and today we have a very special guest and a very interesting topic for you. One of our very own attorneys, Allison McVey. Allie, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. And today we're going to be talking about AI and emerging technologies and the options for immigrants under the Trump administration. And Allie handles many EB-2 NIW cases for the firm. She's very experienced in this area, and she's going to touch on some of the interesting topics that we have for technology professionals, especially now that AI is becoming a very hot topic worldwide. And the Trump administration has actually mentioned that several times, their interest in attracting the brightest and the best from around the world with these immigration options. So, Allie, let's get into it right away. So, what are you seeing for options for technology professionals in these emerging fields?
Yeah, there are tremendous opportunities for individuals with this skill set at the moment. We saw even just in the first days of the Trump administration that he issued some executive orders related to accelerating the adoption and development of AI and emerging tech. And as you mentioned, this requires really the best and the brightest in order to do this. And there's an understanding that foreign nationals with this skill set are among the individuals who will be able to bring this to the table. So there is certainly a priority right now in maintaining U.S. leadership in this area. And we are seeing some really great opportunities to showcase this skill set when it comes to the EB-2 NIW.
Right. So today we're going to be focused specifically on AI and emerging techs for immigration purposes to the US. We're not going to get into the details of how you may qualify, for example, for an EB-2 NIW. We have videos on that you can see in our channel. We can put some of the links below as well. But in summary, perhaps for those that don't understand, typically there are various green card options, and we're focusing on green cards. There may also be temporary visas, such as an O1A for people with certain abilities. But if we're talking about green cards, the EB-2 national interest waiver can be a good option. If you can explain a little bit as to why you think that's a good option for emerging tech.
Absolutely. So one of the critical benefits to having AI and emerging tech skills is that there's really straightforward national importance arguments that we can make as part of the EB-2 NIW. And national importance is critical to that category, right? We want to show the sort of broad prospective impact that your work will have on the US, and whether that's economic advantages, social, cultural, national security benefits. There are a whole host of national importance arguments that we can make. AI and emerging tech is really useful pretty much in any field in order for us to tap into those national importance requirements. So even in the recent executive order that we saw from the Trump administration, there's language in there about AI usage being essential for what he called human flourishing, economic competitiveness, and also national security. And so really, if you have skills in those areas, when it comes to things like human flourishing, it's just kind of a fancy label, but that could be applicability in the healthcare or education fields. For economic competitiveness, I think businesses are very interested in how they can utilize that skill set to understand the needs and the wants of their consumers and broaden their base. In terms of national security, we can also make arguments related to cybersecurity and reducing reliance on foreign-made technologies. So there's a whole different host of options that we can make depending on an applicant's specific skill set, and their suitability for the EB-2 NIW doesn't just rely on national importance, but that is a really major component that becomes a lot easier when they have this specific skill set.
Right. And the beauty of the EB-2 NIW is that, like you said, you can combine. It's not just that you are going to come here AI and you're going to create the next chat GPT, right? You may have skills in AI or another type of emerging technology, but your experience is in the healthcare industry with technology, or it may be in energy, which is something that the Trump administration has also said we want the United States to be a leader in energy, for example. So you may have that ability um, to combine the technological aspect of the person's background with a field that they are comfortable in, that they have experience in. Because one of the problems that we usually see is people, USCIS may question, well, you've never done this before, or you don't have experience in the healthcare industry or the energy sector. How are you going to do in the United States? So that well-positioned part of the argument also becomes important.
Certainly. And I think that's a big misconception for a lot of individuals. They think that in order to incorporate an aspect of that into their planned work, that they have to be creating a whole new, AI tool, or they have to be working in Silicon Valley in order to be successful with those arguments. And that's just not the case. I had a client recently who took an existing AI tool and applied it to his work in the supply chain and logistics sector. And he was able to do demand planning better, route optimization, and really capitalize on that. And one of the things that he initially said to me was, I'm not creating anything new. I'm just taking this existing tool and making my job a little bit easier. And that is really something that you're not required to be recreating the wheel in order to be successful with this area. And there are a whole host of ways that we can highlight your skill set in whatever field you have experience in, that capitalizes on some of this prioritization of AI and emerging tech.
Right. And executive orders, like you mentioned, that Trump issued executive orders, we folks around the world may not be familiar with those details, but that's where we come in, and we can look at your background and engage in that conversation, because it becomes a team effort, right? This is usually a prospective endeavor or project or idea, the work that they want to do in the U.S. And it will be a back and forth to make sure that everyone is comfortable with the client's proposed endeavor in the U.S. So those executive orders become important because it's a guidance regarding what this new Trump administration is prioritizing with regard to certain industries. Now, can you talk about other ways that clients may also prove national interest aside from an executive order? Anything else that we can look at, or try to help the client understand what could be of national interest to the United States, how USCIS looks at that?
Absolutely. We look at federal and state initiatives. We can also look at industry guidance. For example, we have many clients in the automotive sector, and we are seeing, companies like Ford sort of publishing industry guidance about increasing EVs and other types of things. So we can pull from a whole different variety of sources to prove national importance. Really, that's up to us, right? It's up to us to craft the legal arguments. We're paying very close attention to the changes that we're seeing with this new administration, law and policy. And it's really up to our clients to just, let us know what they do really well. We'll sort of tap into what we know to be successful with USCIS traditionally, and take a look at all of the range of law and policy available to us to build those successful arguments.
Yeah. And one misconception that we hear recently, since Trump took office for the second term, is that, well, because there's a lot of news, right? And a lot of it is correct, a lot of it may be incorrect. The focus on immigration itself, and some folks saying, well, are there really open options right now to go to the U.S.? And what I like to remind folks is that what the Trump administration has said is that they want to attract folks based on merit. based on skills and merit. They want high skill immigration because that is the way that you remain competitive, like Ali mentioned before. And attracting the brightest and the best is the only way to try to ensure that the U.S. continues to be a leader in certain industries. So, with that in mind, the EB-2 NIW is a way for you as an individual to do that on your own. You don't need an offer from a company. You don't need to be sponsored by a company. And that's something, Ali, that we're seeing lately. A lot of companies sort of wanting to use NIW simply to come and work in the US, but that's not the spirit of the NIW. The spirit of the NIW is for what we've been discussing. You're coming to do something that could be nationally important.
Precisely, yes. And I think one of the really liberating things about the EB-2 NIW as well is that you're not tied to one employer. So you may have this broad skill set that you can bring here to advance your proposed endeavor. And if your plans change down the line and you know that requires a job change, you're not tied to that employer. So it is quite a flexible category, and it's one that individuals really thrive with. They can showcase their skill set. They can, advance that sort of upward mobility that they look for in coming to the US without being tied to one specific employer.
Great. Well, I don't know, Ali, if you have any final thoughts on 2025 EB-2 NIWs or other high skill immigration options under the Trump administration. I don't know if you have any other thoughts. We don't have the crystal ball, but everything is pointing towards hopefully a continuous attraction of high skill immigrants to the U.S. But I don't know if there were any final thoughts that you wanted to give our audience.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on in mentioning that there is quite a bit of buzz right now with this change of administration. But from our perspective, we're doing many of these cases every day, and we're still having many approvals. I think there is a need for the skills of foreign nationals, and that the EB-2 NIW is a really great way in order for the U.S. to reap the benefits of those skills. So from our perspective, though there is a change in administration, and there is often, almost every 4 years, we are still doing the work and still seeing the rewards of this process. And I think it's a good avenue for many foreign nationals who are looking for permanent residency in the U.S.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, we're used to it. So, well, if you like this video and the content, you can join our channel below. Ali, I hope to do more videos with you in the coming weeks as we continue to see developments with the new Trump administration, but overall with immigration. It's always a pleasure sharing this information with you as our audience. Ali, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
thank you.